Greetings and salutations, YouTubers. This is ZillaFan85 back today with my latest video, my latest figure review. Today, for me especially, a very special treat for you guys. I have what I have considered my personal holy grail of the Trendmasters line, and that is, of course, the Trendmasters Anguirus. Oh yeah, when I first saw the promotional pictures of this, I had it on the back of the, the blister pack from one of the other Godzilla Trendmasters figures that I had gotten, and I saw Anguirus on there with the little, the little write-up on him. Unfortunately, I don't have that blister pack anymore to show you guys, but they had that promotional image with that write-up on him, and right there and then I was hooked. And that was since I was a teenager and had always wanted to get a hold of him, but obviously they discontinued the Trendmasters line, and I had always kind of gone under the assumption for the longest time that that was an unreleased figure. Of course, years later, I did find out that Anguirus was actually released as part of the Godzilla Wars Godzilla 40th anniversary set. So they did release him with 8 other kaiju, I believe. So they had 9 in total. Now they also did an alternate color version of that set as well, with some really wild paint schemes done for the kaiju. Anguirus in particular, he had like this bluish kind of color scheme and whatnot. But I wanted more of the traditional colors, so I found the box set on eBay. Now the figures, it was the complete set, but the figures were not in the box, so they were loose. But the main thing was I really wanted to get Anguirus, so I bought it, and it was a pretty good deal, since they were all loose, the box set. So I just jumped right on it, and definitely did not regret it at all. And the other thing was I did end up selling a few of the figures that I got from that set because I already had them from the Trendmasters line. But then the other ones that I did not previously have, I went ahead and kept, because I definitely wanted to add those. To me, I always enjoyed the Trendmasters figures. It's, what I really grew up on as far as Godzilla figures goes, and what started building my kaiju figure collection in general. So these are very near and dear to me. And like I said, Anguirus was always, for me personally, my holy grail of the Trendmasters figures. He's not the rarest. He is rare, but he's not the rarest. The rarest ones, which again were from the Godzilla Wars, because they did different releases for the Godzilla figures. Now the trifecta, or whatever you want to call them, of the 3 most rare of the Godzilla Wars figures were Baragon, Varan, or Varan, however you prefer to call him, and Megalon. So I do not have any of those. They are extremely rare and very hard to get. I may consider eventually trying to pick those up, but they are, very expensive. So, we'll see what happens in time. But I was really, really excited to get a hold of Anguirus. So that's just a little, personal history as far as this goes. But let's go ahead, let's jump into the figure review itself. So we're going to start with the paint and detail on Anguirus here. So let's go ahead and bring the camera over to him. Hopefully stays focused somewhat here. So as you see, so he's got the horns on the back of his head. Now the thing is with these Trendmasters Godzilla figures, they're for the most part not traditional designs of the Toho Kaiju. They're very stylized designs. So you can definitely see that here with Anguirus, but he still at least somewhat is indicative of his of his Toho design. So you got that horn on the front of his snout there, classic of Anguirus, and it's done this sort of yellowish, like a yellowish creamish bone color. Same thing with the horns on the back of his head, and then of course you got all the little bumps on the top of his head in that same color, and then of course the spikes on his back, on his carapace. done that same creamish bone color as well. They're all pretty soft plastic, so they're pointy, but they're really not sharp. So, and they have kind of a bendy feel to them as well, as you guys can see. So they're not too bad, and shouldn't break easily anyway. And of course too, you got the main sort of paint scheme around his body in this sort of grayish color that you can see. Nice tone of gray all around, and he's got all the he's got like a very musculature design on him. You can see from the arms and the chest and abdomen area there. Very nice detail. You got all these all this texturing done on his skin tone as well, which looks really good, and it's definitely sculpted in, because you can feel it when you touch it. It's not just smooth, that you can definitely feel that texturing on him, and it carries over onto the carapace there as well, which looks really good. Face, he's got that sort of neon green color scheme for his eyes, which really look cool. They don't glow in the dark, but they really do look cool. I like that. Got like an off-white bone color for the teeth, and they're pretty much all individually sculpted, so that's a nice little touch there. You got the tongue done in this sort of deep red, almost purplish color. I know it's a little hard to pick up on camera, and of course too, he's a little dusty as well, so I apologize about that, but you can at least sort of make that out there, and then kind of that same color scheme for the roof of his mouth. So, and nice detail work on the inside of his mouth as well. Really looks good. And you got this sort of purplish color done for the neck and runs down into the chest and abdomen area, and that looks pretty good as well. And then of course blends off into the more grayish color for the arms and the legs, and actually the purplish color runs into the underside of the arms and legs, and then sort of fades out into the grayish color. So I think that's really cool. I like that. Again, very stylized design, but looks really good. He's got that nice muscular neck there. And of course his legs, very muscular again, just like the arms, and nice detail work there, nice texturing done on them. Not like overly scaly, but it's like, very textured. Almost a sort of like stonish kind of look about it, which looks cool. And then of course you got, because you got the that sort of creamish bone color for the finger claws and the toe claws as well. Again, looks good, and there's paint on both sides of the claws, so not just one or the other. So if it picks it up, hopefully. So very cool. And then of course you got all the spikes going. They did a crazy job with the spike pattern on his tail there, as you can see, going all the way throughout the tail. And on both sides actually as well, so they really went wild with the spikes. But I love it. I think this is such a cool design for Anguirus. I know it's a little hit and miss, this design, for some people. I just think it really looks cool. I mean, it's just so awesome. Like some people were saying, if they did like a MonsterVerse version of Anguirus, at some point, maybe he would look like this. But I don't know if they would or wouldn't, but I mean, this is really awesome. And and you don't usually see him standing on his hind legs either. He's usually seen on all fours. So another interesting touch that they did with his design scheme here. But again, very cool, very cool. And yeah, and the tail, like I said, with all those spikes and the nice blending between those, and then of course, and you can definitely feel the bumpiness of the spikes there, and it's a nice color contrast with the gray. So I really like it. That pretty much covers it for the paint and detail. Articulation. Now, unfortunately, and a lot of the Trendmasters suffered with this, and of course this box set. The design of the kaiju, for the most part, they didn't really have articulation, so got some sort of bendy joints here, as you can see, but there's really nothing that's actually movable on him, so he pretty much is in this position. Even though it looks like there's some seams there, it's not meant to move. So he's pretty much in this pose, and that's pretty much how you're going to get him. So there's no articulation for him. But, you know, it's not a big deal to me anyway. And next, I guess we'll go ahead and move on to sizing. And after all this time, I finally did manage to get a ruler here. So going ahead and taking a measure on him. And he's roughly in the 4-inch scale, maybe a little under. Obviously with the horns on the top of his head kind of adds to that a little bit. But he is roughly in that 4-inch scale. And most of the Trendmasters figures, well, they're standard. They have the larger size, but the standard size ones are like in the 4 to 5 inch range. So they are, you know, smaller than your typical 6 to 7 inch figure, like from Bandai and whatnot. But, you know, but still, though, cool for what they are. So, and then, of course, just to do a little size comparison here, I do have my Trendmasters Godzilla, who I had previously reviewed. So you can see them next to each other there. And it's kind of taking a little look-see. And you see Godzilla is a little bit bigger than Anguirus. He's more like in a 4.5 inch size range, so he's a little bigger. But, you know, in general, Godzilla is usually a little bigger than Anguirus. So it just kind of is what it is. But, you know, I think they look really good together. So, of course, your Trendmasters figures are going to scale very well with one another. So I definitely like the display on that. So let's go ahead and take Godzilla down. And now I'll just kind of talk about sizing here. Or pricing, I should say, rather. So for price-wise, now that's the thing, again, Trendmasters are long discontinued, and I believe the company hasn't even existed in quite some time either, many years at this point. Now, he in particular, he was released in 96, I believe. I don't know if there's any, can't find any copyright in, well, actually I think it's on his back here, so... Yeah, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick that up, but as you can see, so was in 1995 is when it was released by Trendmasters. So, now the line, though, I believe was discontinued in 1997. And again, some of them are more common. Some of the figures, so you can still get them at a decent price. But for ones like him, like Anguirus, even if you're going to get just him loose without that box set or anything included, he's usually running for around $50 in that sort of price range. Whether you get this version or the alternate color variant version of him, they're usually around $50 for these figures. So, are these $50 figures? I really wouldn't vouch for that. I mean, they're supposed to be children's toys, but it's just unfortunately now, because of the rarity of them, that's what you're going to be looking at. However, if you are a fan of the Trendmasters line, you know, maybe you grew up with them like I did, and you really would like to add this figure to your collection, I would say go for it. You know, I mean, that's just kind of the option that I went with, because I you know, again, this was my personal holy grail from Trendmasters Godzilla figures, and I couldn't pass it up. So I do definitely recommend him if you're in the market and you're, you know, willing to pay to play, as it were. So otherwise with that, I think that about covers it for this video, folks. I would like to thank you so much for watching. If you would like to subscribe, please feel free to do so. If you would like to like and or comment on any of my videos, please feel free to do so as well. And just remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you be good to yourselves, and sayonara.